Welcome back to another episode of In Swine Versation, Effective Swine Industry Suppliers with Oscar Gonzalez. Welcome, Oscar.
Dear Jim and SwineWeb, many thanks for this interview to bring to me the opportunity to connect South America with North America.
So tell me about Oscar, your career, where you came from, how you're involved in the swine industry.
Okay. First of all, I think that it could be interesting for the audience to know that right now I'm located in Argentina, in South America, and specifically you could see in the map the Buenos Aires city. I'm a vet. I was graduated exactly 44 years ago in 1978. After my graduation, I started working the INTA. INTA is a national research institute here in Argentina. And there was, between 1980s and 1983, was my first contact with the swine industry. I was started in the pathological area, focused in microbiology and in the respiratory disease. Later, I worked as a field practitioner, and in 1985, I started my career in Boehringer Ingelheim. As you know, in US BI, I started working in the marketing and technical aspects, mainly here in Argentina, and later I worked in the South Cone. Finally, I work in South America, and since the year 2000, 2006, I work even in Mexico, and I had the responsibility to develop the animal health business for VI in the whole Latin America. Obviously, since the scratch, we had a strong relationship with the swine production, and essentially due to the company research in Eugevski, Pierce, Ohio, and later Psychovirus. And I was retired to the company after 33 years of work in 2017. And now I'm working as a senior advisor. As you could have an idea, I had a relationship with the whole Latin America. And always my interest is to be connected to North America with South America.
What makes you a passionate advocate for the swine industry?
You know, being in a company like VI with a strong focus in biological and swine, this was the reason of I'm a passionate for this business. Now, even I need to tell you that always attract my attention when you in US use the word supplier, because for me, when you mention the word supplier, I feel that I'm outside of the production. But really, our conception is that we need to be inside the farm, inside of the barns, knowing what happened, in contact with what happened in the field, and this is part of the passion that we have. And the other thing that moves the passion is the people. Essentially, I work a lot in milk production too, and when you are in contact with the producer, with the vets, you have the passion really for this kind of production.
So one of the reasons why we wanted to do this kind of conversation about suppliers is I feel like it's seldomly discussed in the field, but it's a subject that comes up with US farmers, vets, and suppliers in general. So when we talk about suppliers, the industry is evolving constantly, and I feel like suppliers are a key for success in each organization. Now, from your experience, can you talk about why suppliers are essential and vital at the same time?
Yes, for sure. As I mentioned to you, for us, we consider the supplier, they are part of the production system. I consider that the supplier need to be part of the farm, working together, not only with the producers, no, because you need to understand what are the customer needs. It's not a question what you have to sell. It's really, you need to know what are the customer needs. And even I could tell you that sometimes you need to discover with the customer, what they need really, and what is essential for the development of their business. That's the idea, that the concept. For the reason they consider that the supplier is an integral part of the swine production. Sometimes you could offer a new products. Sometimes you could tell to the producer or to the vet how they could use better some existing products. Even you need to consider different categories of customers, depending on the size, or even depending on their location. Or it's the same with the vets. Some vets are related with the commercial aspect of the business, other ones with the production. We need to consider that we have more than 20 specialties inside the swine production. The other thing is you need to have the relationship with the academy, with the researchers, even with the union of the producers. It's not a question that you only need to be focused in the health. You need to consider the economic aspect. Summarizing, you need to be part of the farm.
Any examples of good and bad partners, or how do they work?
Yeah, I think that more than the good or bad partners, you need to understand what is their main interest. If you consider from the area of the supplier, if the supplier considers that they only have a product and they need to find a way to sell the product and not to consider the environment, what are the customer needs, this is a big difference with a supplier. Even inside the vet community, if you consider that only the supplier producer bring you the product and don't consider all the knowledge that the companies have behind and how they could help you, I think that you have a lot of illnesses. I mentioned, for example, Laugeski or Pierce or circovirus, where the industry showed that more that having a product, they have a concept of the problem and help on the connectivity of the different aspects of the illness, for example.
So in your opinion, what is one or two keys that make an effective supplier?
The first thing, something that I learned, is to be in contact with the customer. You need to know what happened inside the banks. You need to know what are the customer needs. You need to be in the field. And the other thing that you mentioned is the passion, the curiosity, the compromise. And we the Latinos, we put a lot of passion in the activity that we develop. This is the critical point.
So what about in the field? Can you discuss the voice of producers and vets and how they can stay close?
Yeah, and this is going another interesting point, which is the communication, because you have different styles of communication and different needs of the communication. First of all, starting in your own team, your internal team, to have a clear communication, and then the communication with the customer. And this communication depends a lot on the magnitude of the customer. It's different approach to a small customer, medium size, or the big companies where you have a structure to talk. Always keep in mind that you need to have the contact with the person who is working in the barn, who at the end of the day is using the product or follow the advice. Obviously, you need to have involved all the staff of the farm and the vets who is responsible for the treatments, just to discuss what is the best approach. And even you need to consider, in my case, that I work in different countries of South America or Latin America, you need to consider the culture. And this is, for example, is essential in US, and this is a topic that we always discuss. When you have a lot of Latino population working inside the farms, you need to understand their culture, their feeling, and how to approach them. And even about the communication, there are the medias. I always consider that the face-to-face communication is very important. Then you have all the electronic helps, or in the last times, you have all the social media. Or, for example, during the pandemic time, we reinforced the concept of the importance of the web seminar, for example, or companies like Swine really allows to us to be connected. No, that's very important. In this case, I like to underline the work that you develop during these pandemic times, and now you're part of our daily life. I start every day just checking what you have in your media.
So you're staying on top of what's happening. I also think it's a two-way street between suppliers and companies, because if we can effectively work together, listen, learn, and engage, things really flow well. And I think it's sometimes we just need to take a step back and listen to what the customer needs and how we can make their job easier.
Obviously, Jim, always listen to the customer. Listen to the customer, listen to the customer needs, and you discover a lot just listening to the customer, and be totally open with the customer. No, and a key word is trust. You need to deliver what you promise to the customer. How we always said, walk the talk on time, which is another critical word. No.
So when we talk about staying on top of the game as a supplier, I think sometimes we forget how much work it is to work with a customer and to work with people. What do we need to do to stay on top of the game? I think consistency is key. What do you think?
Absolutely. Deliver what you promise, consistency, trust. And the other thing is all we need to be ready to do what the 90% are not ready to do. Deliver more than even you, it's possible for you, deliver more even what you promise. No, I always use the word first, to be the first in and the last out every day. No, I have this passion. If you see the lights on in a barn or in a farm, you need to go there and visit and check what happened.
So what about, like, in the field, I talk to people every day and they're trying to figure out, how do you reach a decision maker? And I realize in every company it's different. There's some companies you can go directly to a decision maker, and other companies you just have to really subtly get your message out through the organization. So what are you seeing in the field with the needs to reach the decision makers?
It's an excellent question, because it's totally different in every company. Even mainly depends on the size of the company. No, but even in the big company where you have the management team, the technical team, the commercial team, the operational team, I always like to have the contact with the people who really is working in the barn. For me, this is critical to know what is happening inside the barn. And obviously, as I mentioned to you, is to have the concept of the professional or the team of the professionals what are working inside, and understand the management team objectives, where they like to bring the company, what are the commercial and economic challenges. At the end of the day, you need to consider the whole team and to find the appropriate contact with everyone, and understand which are the specific teams to the people who's working with the animal, to the vets, and to the management team in the different aspects. Now, that's critical.
So what about, like, the life cycle from the time that you come up with an idea and delivery? How has that changed from when you started to today?
This is very, very interesting, Jim, because as I had a long career, I remember in the past when we start with Objecki or with peers, typically we always say that it takes 10 years from you start thinking in a concept, in a product, in a need, to deliver the product. From the last time, the speed increased dramatically. I always remember that in March 2020, when the pandemic started, I asked some researchers about the development of a new vaccine, and they told me, Oscar, I think that probably at the end of this year we will have a solution or an idea of the solution. It was incredible in 1 year. I talked them in the middle of the year, and they say, okay, we will have in months the solution. And if you talk in 22 about some technologies, some new things in the field of the diagnostic, for example, now you are working in terms of weeks, practically. The speed of the development is incredible, and the evolution of the whole industry, really. Now, when you see what happened in the last 2 years, realizing the telemedicine, for example, all the new development of the pharma products, the biologicals, is incredible.
What do you think about telemedicine?
Oh, good. It's one of the favorite topics. I think that we will have a good future. Always you will have the people, the person who handle the professional capacity of the person who handle the telemedicine. But the telemedicine will help to the good professional to reach more customers than in the past. This is really the big possibility of the telemedicine. But always you will need to have a person who has a good professional judgment. Even when I discuss with the good professionals, this point is obviously you always need to have some visit to the farm, some connection to the farm. But the telemedicine will allow to the professional to reach more customers.
Any other tools to make a difference when it comes to communicating with decision makers?
Yeah, the artificial intelligence and the communication channels. I forgot something very important because we talk a lot about sustainability, for example, the environmental challenges that we have. Talking about communication, another important fact is the communication of us as an industry to the customers. You ask me, this is the big challenge that we confront in the industry. Not the communication between us. It's the communication to the society. No?
So when we talk about communication, do you think communication should be simple? Like, I feel like communication is just constant contact and effective, there's little things like that. Or do we need to tailor our communication to our era or our target market, or should communications be simpler?
No doubt that you need a tailored communication. And it depends what you like to communicate and to whom you like to communicate. Every day I discuss with the young people in the industry. I always ask who you like to reach, to whom you like to deliver your message, how many people is the message. I always is it possible is to have the personal contact is something that is critical. Then you have some channels like obviously the phone calls, the email, WhatsApp that we use a lot, and the social media. But I always say, don't consider that if you publish something in social media or send an email, the communication is rich. And you need to be sure that the other people understand. And mainly in international communication. We always say that in international communication, not redundancy. And it is very important to ask to the other person what they understood about what you said. This is a typical mistake that we found.
Do you have any communication strategies for effectiveness?
As I mentioned to you, depends what you like to communicate and to whom. No, for example, if you work with the community, I consider that you need to. It's possible that the channel need to be young people to reach the young people. The other thing is the female the females have more capacity than the male, just to reach big audiences. No, just an example. No?
Now, with the suppliers you work with, Oscar, do you have a percentage that are effective to work with?
This is a good and hard question. As I mentioned to you, it depends on the devotion. I think that in general, the industry evolved a lot, that develop a lot of different tools to be in contact with the customers. And there is a big improvement. But at the end, every day you find that the people who is in the different steps of the communication is the critical point. And you could see that you could have the best system, but if you don't have people with compromise with the communication system, with the communication channels, really is not a success. Unfortunately, we have a lot of examples of companies with good products, but they don't have a good communication, they don't have a good compromise, and they don't succeed. And you have another company that you could consider a medium league, and due to their interest to be in contact with the customer, they develop an outstanding relationship with the customer.
The final take, Oscar. What does it take to be great versus average?
Okay. As I mentioned, is to be ready to do what the 90% of the industry is not ready, or they don't have the compromise to do. That's the point. And every day you need to be in the field looking for new customer or trying to assist the customer and develop a relationship. Something that I learned through the years is to develop the personal relationship with the customer, and the customer could trust that you could deliver what you promise.
Well, Oscar Gonzalez, thank you for joining us on In Swine Versation, effectively swine industry suppliers.
Thank you, Jim, for bringing to me the opportunity to connect South America with North America. And at the end of the day, all of us are in the same industry, and we have a lot of complementary aspects to develop through the whole Americas. Thank you, Jim, and all the best for SwineWare.